I looked outside only because I didn't really have a good bearing of Ballarat at the time. I didn't quite know in terms of the town where this was located, and I just saw this big hulking pub with aluminium siding covering every single window, and I just went, oh really?
I was like, what's in
Dave's
there?
like, let's go inside.
You know that Tom Waits song? What are they doing in there?
Yeah. And anyway, Dave's good because he always gives me that extra little nudge, and I'm like, okay, let's go in. And I reckon I stepped foot and I went, David, I love it.
You go first.
I'll go first. Who do I look at?
Look at
you.
Yes,
okay,
cool.
I'll start again. Hi. What do I do? My daughter sometimes asks me that. What do you do, Mum? And part of you goes, well, I used to have a really defined career, and now I can't quite define it. What do I do? A lot of things. Anything from art gallery owner, fashion designer, creative projects, mum, that's my favourite, wife, that's
Awesome
my
person.
second favourite.
Look,
Let's go from the top.
Okay, I'm Yuge Bromley.
I'm David Bromley. I was born in England, but I got to Adelaide when I was 3.5, and I've always loved Melbourne, so I've done a lot of driving through. And a mate of ours had told us a lot about this area, but I'd always loved the buildings in Ballarat. I look back now and I think that I was always looking at it with a certain sort of longing or an affinity.
When we moved back and settled in this area, it felt like we'd almost been privy to a bit of a secret. Like, how amazing is this? And how incredible is all this nature that surrounds us, and yet all of this productivity and movement and energy. And you can't help but start telling your friends. I like to think that we live with our eyes open, so we're always taking in our surroundings no matter where it is. And in this case, in exploring Ballarat initially, our eyes were very open. We were almost like gobsmacked, like, why have we not been here more often? At the time, the state of the place was basically like, I think they had a New Year's Eve party, 2014, and then lock the doors. So it was pretty...
Wine-sodden cigarette butts still in
Yeah, it was
glasses.
pretty full on.
Urine-stained mattresses
everywhere.
upstairs. And I just went, awesome.
Wow. The name, the pub with two names, iconically this was remembered as the Peter Lawler Hotel. When we removed the aluminium siding, it revealed its prior name, the Royal Highlander, and we just loved both names. And we go, how do we choose? And
we thought,
Dave said, what about, it is the pub with two names. Why don't we call it the pub with two names? We work a lot with old buildings. I like not reinventing the wheel. I think David's got a great respect for how buildings were built at the time they were built.
People show you plans and say, take this wall out and do this.
Yeah, there's a reason why certain things were built that way, and that there's a reason why they've survived for over 100 years.
Refurbishments look really good at first and you feel very sort of excited, but they can date.
Yes.
Whereas if you stay, like we sort of thought, look, it's got all these years of stories. Well, the dude on the front of our pub is Peter Lawler. You know, he's only got one arm, he had his arm blown off, pushing for something, and that's what often happens in places like this. Their history is remarkable. But I do think that this town, there is that, I mean,
rebellious nature.
If we're ever in a situation where we're not rolling out a certain sort of cultural circus, then we're not doing our job properly. We are interested people. It's very much our natural inclination to have musicians, artists, fashion designers. We have a lot of people, visitors from overseas. We often can't find the time to go to a fashion show or an opening. Well, very rarely, but it often happens around us. And we were talking about, you know, the upstairs of the hotel. Had we set that up for accommodation, we would have it booked out. But I think the fact that, you know, we have our friends staying with us.
We really love the idea of the artist in residence, whether it's us, our musician buddies, performers, to us that feels so real. Say they play downstairs, they've got a spot they can hang out, they might create something quite special here. I've always said, you know, the big concerts are great, but I've always wanted to catch the band at the small place that they happen to be and have dinner at and then perform afterwards. And that's what we want here and the stables to be, that sense of happenstance. You're there and you catch something remarkable being created, and it's not purposely planned, but it evolves and it sprouts out just through goodwill and a desire for a great time.
We're not people that sort of, you know, sit there with this big plan and say that's what it's going to be like on opening day and then say done. You know, we like a living thing. It's like a garden. You tend it and it sort of rewards you. I mean, a lot of what, you know, we like to discuss in these sorts of things is what is a place going to be? What is Ballarat going to be like in a certain year's time? And I always say, well, it depends what people do. It depends what actions are taken. If there's an opportunity or there's a good wind blowing through a certain area, if certain really good people understand what that is and how a path can be trotted to the new beginnings, then that's a cool thing.